Okay, so today we're going to do a blind taste test between redfish, aka red drum, and spotted sea trout, also known as speckled sea trout or speckled trout. Now we're going to be preparing them in the blackened style, which involves a mixture of the following items: paprika, about a tablespoon of paprika, a teaspoon of red pepper, cayenne pepper, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder, and to add a little Florida twist to this, we're going to go with a teaspoon of Everglades seasoning. Now I've pre-mixed them together in an old garlic salt container. I only make as much as I need for each time that I make it, because once you mix these together, they can actually, the flavor goes away after a little while, so it's best to mix them up in individual batches. But I like to put it in this just so it's easy to shake on. Okay, so you start out with some melted butter. You're gonna dip your fillets in the melted butter. Get them nice and buttery. That's the important part of blackening. So then you're gonna place it on a plate. We've already got our rice going over here, and you're gonna give it a good thick coating of the blackening seasoning that you've already prepared. So we're going to shake it on there nice and heavy. Don't be cheap with it. And you're actually going to want to pat it in with your fingers. Try to get it to really impregnate into the meat. Put a little more on. Flip it over, do the same thing to the other side. Pat it in. Okay, so that one's ready to go. Let's do the redfish. Redfish is a little bigger. Get it in that butter. Might have to do one side, then flip it and do the other side because it's so large. This was only from about a 20-inch redfish, so if you're using a bigger redfish, you might even need to cut the fillet in half. This one just is going to fit inside the pan. Okay, so give that redfish a good coating. Now this dish is typically prepared with redfish or red drum. It's actually really good with trout too. Trout and redfish are both in the drum family. They are a different genus and species, but they belong to the same family, the drum family. Both of them are known as excellent eating fish. Okay, so this is how you prepare it for the frying pan. I'm going to have to do this several more times because I've got about 4 trout and 1 redfish that I'm preparing tonight. I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll get back to you when we start up the frying process. So the key to blackened fish is a lot of butter. We're going to melt this butter and get it really hot. It's typically done with a cast iron skillet. I don't have one, so I'm working with what I got. Alright, so we're dropping them in the butter now. Again, a cast iron skillet's better because it really puts out a lot of heat and you can really sear it in, but I'm just working with what I got. So this is starting to look really good. That's about the color you want it to turn. I just flipped it. We're going to let it cook on the other side a little bit, and this will be ready to serve up. Okay, it's the moment of truth to find out what is preferred, redfish or trout. So we're going to start off with Nadia. You take specimen A. Caleb, Josue. Abuela. We have an additional member on our judges panel this time, so we can't end in a tie. Specimen B for Nadia. Specimen B for Caleb. Specimen B for Josue. Specimen B for Abuela. Okay, so, does everybody know which one you prefer? ¿Tú sabes cuál prefieres? No diga todavía. ¿Tú sabes? Okay. Voy a contar a tres y todos dicen a la misma vez. I'm going to count to 3 and everybody say A or B at the same time. 1, 2, 3.
A.
Everybody said A.
He said B.
Oh, Josue said B.
I don't
Okay.
know though. I kind of undecided. I just said it because.
Did you guys think they were very similar?
Yes,
Yeah.
they were very,
Pretty
very
much the
similar.
same.
Was it difficult to tell them apart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had 3 that chose A. A was the sea trout, spotted sea trout, speckled trout. B was the redfish. So only Josue picked redfish, but he said he thinks that was just because he got a bigger bite. And everybody pretty much agreed that they tasted almost the same. They couldn't really tell the difference. They were just kind of going by what they felt at the moment.
I think that A1 was a little more firm, and the B1 was a little more, just kind of soft.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And Caleb felt the opposite of that.
I had a
Okay.
tiny piece, so I felt the opposite too.
Oh no.
I gotta taste it again to really be able to judge it better.
All right, so we'll have to say, as of now, sea trout wins, but again, it was very difficult to tell them apart. I'm going to try it and see what I think. Okay, so I just finished taking several bites of each, both the trout and the redfish. I was alternating back and forth, and every time I tried one, I would think I liked it more than the other one, and I would just go back and forth, and they're almost indistinguishable. You can barely tell them apart. At least with this seasoning, it is kind of a heavy seasoning, so that may make it difficult to tell them apart. I will say that the redfish is slightly firmer in texture, so if I had to give one the edge, I would pick the redfish, but honestly, they taste almost the same. If somebody gave you a thick fillet of trout from a large trout and told you it was redfish, you'd probably believe them. If it was already cooked and prepared and you tried it, you wouldn't be able to tell it apart. I think really the only difference between a redfish and a trout is the redfish is a little funner to catch. They taste almost the same. Now it's time to make this really good and spice it up.